Cool. So we are live. Thank you, gang, for joining us here for our latest edition of the Coaches Connect call. I'm Coach Jeremy, and we have a little bit of a smaller crew today, a little bit more intimate crew. Uh, and Anastasia was actually just about to get us kicked off with sharing a discussion they wanted to bring forward. Anastasia, it's all you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sorry if I jumped right in. I just didn't know how it works. So
Strongly appreciated. Thank you for taking the lead.
honestly, it took me a lot of courage to raise my hand up. So as soon as I clicked this button, I was like, okay, I should finally ask my question. Because I certified last October, I think. And I really wanted to start my coaching practice and to work with people. And I also put this question in the Facebook group before. And honestly, I came here first to overcome my fear, to put myself into international world, and secondly, maybe to have some um, have some tips or support. How do I get started, and how do I get started with my work with clients? And it's not typical, maybe not typical, but like not the first client problem, because I feel myself pretty confident working as a nutrition coach here in Russia, and I've been here for a couple of years, and I have people, they pay me, they have results, everything is cool. But putting myself into international work, it's really hard for me. Work on a different language, even to be here on a Zoom call and raise my hand and talk about my problem. It is really hard for me. I don't know why, but I really feel that this is some of my personal stuff. I do not feel like I do not feel lack of experience, or kind of that I cannot help people or I am afraid of helping them. But for some reason, I feel a lot of resistance working with people internationally. I had pro bono clients a couple of months ago. I found them on a random Facebook groups. They were they were pretty cool with me also. But since that was free, after first months, I really didn't feel any motivation to work with people. And I also felt the same from them. Like they jumped in and they it was cool for them. But after first month, I really see that they stopped replying my messages, and I kind of losing them. So I tested this model. I really noticed that working for free, it's not cool. And even for the case, working for the first case, it's not motivating me enough, because I kind of have cases already. So, but for some reason, I'm not starting to work. So uh, maybe if anyone has the same problem, or maybe someone wants to have an accountability partner or have some tips how to overcome this, then I would really love to hear this.
Sounds good. I, of course, have some thoughts on this and some questions to follow up, but I want to open it up to our coaching audience here. Coaches, what are your thoughts? Do you have any questions for Anastasia? Uh, do you have any comments, any likewise experience you want to share? Feel free to either pop it into the chat box or to unmute. Anastasia, just a question for you. Uh, on Facebook, do you go by Stacy by any chance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can share because I believe, yes, as you mentioned, you shared this question with our community, and it looks like you got
Yes,
quite
I
a bit
did.
of response. I'm
Yeah.
curious to know what sort of responses resonate with you, but let's go to Christina first, and then we'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, sorry I'm not on the video because I'm in the middle of multiple things here, multitasking, but I am present, and I wanted just to compliment Anastasia. I'm personally from Kazakhstan, and Russian is my native language myself. You have a wonderful English, and I think just keep practicing and showing out there is already a first step forward. Like we like to say to our clients, right? Hey, like you being here and signing up is already a step forward. So that's exactly what you just did in this community. So great job. It's as long as you apply it and keep practicing, it will get more natural. You will get there. You will work through it. It's applying what you're already doing with the native speakers and your level of English allowing you to do that. So I just wanted to encourage you, and I just said nothing can be more precious and valuable than experience. But that's something that you just need to show up, do it, and get better at it. That's all what I can say.
Thank you so much. Sometimes it's easy but hard at the same time. And when just someone from the side highlight something for you which really resonates with you, it makes complicated things more easier. Thank you.
That sounds like you just summarized coaching in a nutshell there. Yeah. But you're correct. Sometimes just having someone reiterate a thought that you've already had, or someone affirm something that's already kind of like intuitive knowledge to you, but you haven't been able to put it into into that context is very valuable. And then having someone who you have a relationship with, or you believe has walked that path before, share that with you, can be just that spark that you need, which again sounds a lot like the coaching process. I mentioned before, and I just popped into the chat box, the discussion that you started. Was there
Yeah.
any feedback in there that you found valuable?
Yeah, I actually loved every one of them because each of them was really, really helpful for me. I did my homework, and first of all, I really noticed that. Thank you so much, Christina, for complimenting my language. Nevertheless, I really feel a huge language barrier. I think it's
Hmm.
because I haven't been practicing for a really long time, and I haven't been abroad for a really long time. This is my fourth Zoom
Hmm.
call. I'm trying to raise my hand. Like, all because last time I did it, and I did it 5 minutes before the end, and when I press the button, I feel like my heart rate went up. I really felt like my palms were sweating, and those were the signals I were aware of. So I was like,
Hmm.
something is going on. So if I have that much resistance on a PN
Hmm.
coach's call, so how
Right.
am I supposed to work with
Hmm.
the real people? So I really like, back in to your question about the Facebook post, I really like the question about my deeper why. Like,
Hmm.
why do I want to work with foreigners? I'm pretty good here in Russia.
Right.
And I really love the question about who is my ideal client, because I found out for me somehow that I do not want to just work on English. I really want to
Hmm.
work with someone like me, like girls
Hmm.
pretty much my age, doing a lot of sports, probably CrossFit, probably regular gym, who are active and live probably in Canada or US or Australia,
Hmm.
because I found out myself really hard to work with different nationalities in terms of food preferences
Hmm.
and maybe some cultural things. So yeah, there were some replies, and three of them I think I found really helpful for me, and
Yep.
probably because of I did already did some homework with those replies, I'm here today because I finally found enough energy for me to like put myself out.
Excellent. I mean, I'm glad to see that you got some similar feedback. One of the questions that I would certainly ask as well is for you, and then any coach who is starting their online coaching journey, is who do you want to work with and why? So it's quite common when people start working in an online space that the notion is I need international clients. Like my marker of success is that I have clients from all around the world. And it's a nice thing to say as a coach. Like it's a sort of like braggadocious kind of like feather in your cap. Like, yeah, I have clients around the world. great. Like my services are really in demand everywhere. Sure, that's fantastic. But you can have a fantastic impact with coaching 20 people who live in like a 2 kilometer radius around you. I would argue that your impact in that smaller sphere is much more concentrated and allows you to connect with those people much more because you'll likely have more in contact with them. You can offer them more things, especially like in-person meetups, which an international coach will very rarely have the opportunity to provide. So that being said, is having clients into several time zones a valuable asset for an online coach? It's like maybe if time management is like really important to you and you want to be able to spread out your workload a little bit more, there is certainly some value there, but it doesn't make you a better coach to have international clients. That being said, it sounds like for you, if I were to kind of paraphrase what you were saying, working with people in more of like the Western world would be valuable for you because you have some commonality there in lifestyle in terms of like training ethic, uh, specific gender related concerns, age, like
Exactly.
those things present as appealing to you. And finding those people and connecting with those people is part of your mission as a coach. And being online certainly would help facilitate that. Uh, if the language barrier is let's say it's the biggest obstacle right now, maybe not the only, but it's the biggest one. What are some avenues that you have, as Christina correctly pointed out, to get experience and practice?
I really feel that I just need to talk to real people more and probably
Mm-hmm.
more even to the native speakers because I did some to feel myself more confident. I took a couple of English courses in spring, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't work out because I was just like exercising pronunciation and everything. But
Right.
talking, even like right now, we are talking like 10-15 minutes, and my
Mm-hmm.
palms are not sweating anymore. So I feel myself much better already talking to.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean,
So
if I
yeah.
can offer you some additional options, it sounds like you're already exploring them to some degree, but in terms of, and this goes for building efficacy in a language, but also in the language of coaching and being a nutrition coach, like getting comfortable wearing that hat, finding forums in places where people congregate to talk about these things. So, an obvious example would be the PN coaches community. I would encourage you to go in there regularly and start to answer questions as though you were a coach.
Mhm.
So these are typically people are asking really specific nutrition related concepts. You can practice your English skills there by responding to those folks with your coaching voice. This is
Mhm.
essentially what I did as like a new coach for several years, and I found it incredibly valuable. I mean, it led me to getting this job, so there's clearly some value there, but what I would do on my like 2 hour commute would be sit on my BlackBerry and just scroll through the PN forums. And then when people had questions, I would try and pretend like, hey, if this person was my client, how would I respond to
Mm,
them? And it
mm,
was a way for me to practice my language skills in written, where I wasn't really coaching that many people in
mm.
spoken or written at that time. So I had the time, it was really useful, and it just gave me more reps, just like Christina was saying. It sounds like you've already connected with some folks as well in other forums where nutrition is maybe coming up. So, of course, continue to practice there. And then to that point where you mentioned, I've had a few clients who kind of met that criteria. They were international folks. Uh, I was working with them on a pro bono basis. What you may want to do there, and it's possible that you did, was uh, establishing what it would look like for them to transition into professional clients. So that seed is planted quite early. So it sounds like you did 1 month with
Mhm.
them. Was there an
Mhm.
expectation that they would sign up with you after that? Was it kind of just a trial run? Was it more so, hey, you're giving me experience and I appreciate that, and that's the extent of how much I'm willing to push at this time?
Can you repeat your last question?
I'm curious to know kind of like what was the understanding for that coaching relationship during that month and beyond that month? Was there an expectation that they would sign up with you or there'd be like any monetary exchange beyond 30 days?
I think there was maybe my fault that I offered them a 3 month commitment. So
Mhm.
I offered them to work for 90 days with me, but in for the exchange, I was asking their like hard work, their passions. So
Mhm.
they would be my I'm working for free, but they would be my first like international case.
Fantastic. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with having like pro bono clients initially to try and, especially if you're trying a new thing, you're like, hey, this may not be as refined as I would like it to be. So as a
Mm-hmm.
result, I'm okay with either discounting or offering my services for free at this time. What you could do in a similar instance next time is like, even if you wanted to start with some sort of free trial or introductory period where it's like a reduced cost, setting the understanding that after we've passed that initial phase, this is what coaching will look like. My
Mm,
services will still look relatively the same, but there's an expectation that there will be some exchange of fees at this time. And then if you want to
mm-hmm.
continue working with me beyond that, then we can certainly look at what that would look like as well.
Yeah, this is a great idea.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think it's really common that folks have the tendency to say it's like when there's no money on the line, people don't care. It's like
Mm-hmm.
yes and no. That may be like a
Mm-hmm.
general trend, but at an individual level, there are going to be people who are like, I'm really committed to this thing and I just
Mm-hmm.
simply cannot pay for it. But if you are
Mm-hmm.
willing to work with me and there's a beneficial exchange on both sides, then it can be a really useful relationship.
Right.
Uh, that being said, if it's something where you feel like my motivation as a coach is starting to wane at that point, then having an amount that satisfies your need to be like present and accountable to that person is necessary for that relationship to be sustainable and keep going.
Right. Yeah, right.
I'm curious to know, is there any secondary, like from what Christina was saying and what I'm experiencing now, it's like it seems like your language skills are actually quite strong to me. The other thing that I was curious about was, is there specific segments of language that you find yourself having more trouble with? Like, I know that if you put me in Spain right now, or if you put me anywhere in Latin America and ask me to get from like the hotel or from the airport to my Airbnb or from the Airbnb to a restaurant, like that's the level of Spanish I have. I probably won't starve to death and I'll be able to get where I need. But if you ask me to have a conversation on like 18th century Spanish literature, my vocabulary does not translate there.
Right.
So, is there any
Right.
aspect of your spoken language or written language that you feel like needs a little bit more emphasis?
Yeah, definitely. My professional language should be much better. It's not like better, it's more confident because many people highlighted this one to me before that traveling in English and talking to friends in English, it's not the same that working in English. And
Mhm.
nevertheless, I'm consuming for many years. I just saw someone put the message in the chat about TV shows or films in English. I've been consuming content on English for many years, like maybe
Mhm.
10 or something. And it's not the problem for me to listen or to read, but to talk about nutrition and sleep, like stress management. I just haven't been practicing this one yet. And
Right.
I should really do it more. So it's not the lack of confidence in regular conversation, but of course in professional language for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, then yeah, I mean, I think a starting point may be valuable as like responding in written
Right,
communication
right.
to questions and queries that are like very coach specific. Uh, one thing I will say is technical language, focusing your time and attention there may not be super useful. Because if we
Mm-hmm.
remember from like most real coaching conversations,
Right.
we're not talking about advanced physiology. So like
Yeah.
if you're trying to convert like the Krebs cycle to English
Yeah.
from your native Russian, it might not be really worth your time and effort. But if you're practicing having regular coaching conversations, even
Mm-hmm.
rewatching like some of these videos on YouTube where we bring up a whole bunch of coaching conversations and pausing it at certain intervals and ask yourself, how would I respond to that? So when someone has a question here, how would I respond? And then as
Mm-hmm.
you gain more confidence, just feeling free to unmute yourself and share your opinion or your insight to certain questions that pop up here. Use this as your safe sandbox.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's much better for me. It's much clearer for me right now, for sure.
fantastic. Yeah, the other thing that I think is quite useful is that in almost every setting that you're going to step into as a coach, there may be a language barrier. Let's say it exists, but your knowledge of the subject matter is almost always going to dwarf the knowledge that the
Mm,
person sitting across from you
right,
has. So it
right.
may take you a second to pause and go like, I got to translate from my Russian brain to my English brain before I can share this concept. But the concept is completely foreign to them anyway. So the
Mm-hmm.
slight pause that you have that may feel uncomfortable to you is nothing compared to like the gap in knowledge that they have.
Right.
So hopefully that gives you also like a little bit of a boost to say it's like it's fine. We can take a second here. It also may humanize you in the eyes of the other person,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like they're coming to you and there is some sort of a disparity between coach and client from a power dynamic. So you can let them know, hey, this is an area where I sometimes feel tripped up or struggle a little bit, but I'm showing up here and I'm making this effort as well. It's okay for us to struggle. Struggling just means that you're trying hard.
Mm, right.
Mhm. There is really no struggle without significant effort.
Yeah, and then when you finally get what you were going for, it feels much more better. It feels much more satisfying after struggling, actually.
Mhm. Exactly. Cool. Uh, any additional things that we can help you with, or any final thoughts for Anastasia
Um,
before we move on?
I have one more question. Where do I
Please.
find the record of this Zoom call?
Sure, I can help you with that. So we have our YouTube page that we typically update these calls on a weekly basis,
So
unless
it's on
I've
YouTube.
forgotten to. Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Hopefully that's not an issue for you for today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really feel myself much better. And it really took me a while to find those answers to my question, unless I was like, okay, I have the whole bunch of coaches who probably can help me with that, and I have a professional who's leading those Zoom calls. I should probably just go to my community and ask. It took me a month to do this, but it feels much more relief and just easier right now. I write down some really important points for me while you were speaking, and I would review this call one more time for sure. Yeah, thank you so much.
Fantastic. Yeah, keep up the practice. I hope this becomes a playground for you to continue your practice as well. Uh, Always happy to have more insight from experienced coaches like yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sharif, what do you got? I think you're still muted.
Yeah, it's working now.
All good?
So I have two questions.
Please.
I just started. The PN business Kickstarter,
Mhm.
and I'm a bit confused about whether to use my name as the business name or pick a totally different name. And I'm not sure whether to decide. I'm not sure what are the aspects that I should decide based on. And the second question is, how should I divide my content? I have heard a lot of strategies. Some people would do like 1 week for connection, 1 week for example, tips and tricks. So another week for testimonials only, and another week, fourth week for call to actions only. Some people would mix, like have one of each every same day every week. Some people will have them like hot, cold, and warm. I heard
Mhm.
a lot of things in this area, and they're very confusing, and I'm not sure what to do.
Cool. So I'm happy to take the first question. I'm gonna hopefully, I'm not sure if Coach Kate is just driving around and passively listening, although
No, I'm
you're
happy to
answering
be
in the text.
here. Yeah,
Yeah, so I assume you're not driving and
I'm
texting at the
definitely
same
not
time.
driving.
Cool. So I'll toss the second question to Coach Kate because I know she has for her personal business, she has a launch model and definitely has put a lot of thought into content strategy on that front. But for the first question, she's actually kind of nailed it as well. This is a discussion that when we do the live version of Kickstarter, I always love this point because it seems like a stumbling block for a lot of coaches, not only yourself, where we put maybe a little bit too much thought into coming up with like the perfect name and then coaches forget about all the other stuff around coaching. It's like finding a really cutesy name tends to pop up first. Uh, I go with the bare bones approach. Like start with being easy to find. And the easiest way to find you typically is by utilizing your own name because chances are people already know you and some of the services that you offer, especially if you're coming in as an allied provider, like personal trainer, nutritionist, massage therapist, something like that. Keep it to a name that's already known for you. So using your personal name or your current business name. Additionally, where you may want to flex some more of your creative muscle can be you rename the program that you offer. So it could be I'm Coach Jeremy Fernandez, and my coaching program is called Move with Jeremy. That I can scrap that program name and come up with a new name, Moving with Jeremy for Seniors, Moving Over 50. Like I can change the name, and I'm not calling people over 50 seniors. Uh, I can change the program name, but keep my business name, and that would simplify things a lot also. So my business name makes me very easy to find. It shows up on Google searches. My program name, I can differentiate as I come up with different programs. So if you're kind of in between right now on names, feel free to go with the one that kind of resonates the most for you and makes you the easiest to find. That would be my suggestion.
So you prefer to go with the personal name and test
Mhm.
waters with different names as if I'm naming the program and not the whole service or the whole business. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah, like if you, chances are also if you come up with like a cutesy name, uh, and you put that into a Google search, there's probably going to be a few associated names that have a head start on you, and they are likely to be very close to you, especially if you're making like a social media profile. So it's like move plus with the word 50, move with the actual plus in it, move with like an ampersand in it. Like all of these things seem like very closely related, but how can I find which one is you? Well, the one with your name associated to it is much easier to find.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, and then if you're getting traction with the program, it's like cool. You can work under that handle and continue to use that name. If you feel like I want to change it up, I want to change my niche, I want to work with a different population, then the program name just has to change, and everything else gets to stay relatively the same. No need to change like business licenses or anything like that.
I think life would be easier this way.
I would agree. Also, I utilized, I mean, my own personal bias here is that I just used first name, last name, nutrition as my business, and I was like, I'll change it later. And it's been all coming up on like 8 years or so, and it's just I haven't
Never
had a need
happened.
to change. I don't think the success of my business at this point is because my name is not catchy enough. Uh, So hopefully, arms by Jeremy. Uh, so hopefully that kind of gives you some insight for the first question. But before I move on, actually, uh, interested coaches who are here, any additional insight here? Anything that you'd agree with? Anything you disagree with? Uh, or if you want to share how you came to your own coaching name, feel free to share. Then for your second question, I would go to Kate for this one because I'm sure she has put in an inordinate amount of thought into this one.
I'm still stuck on the name thing. Is that okay?
If you have stuff for the name thing, by all means.
Well, so whenever we start thinking about something like what should my business name be? This is like me, the coaching through and through. I always want to take a step back and ask, what is the problem that we're trying to solve with the business name? Like, have you had client after client come up to you and say, I want to work with you, but like, what is your business name? And before I
No.
decide, I bet that has never happened. And I'm thinking of the coaches that I have worked with in the past. Some of them have had business names, some of them have not. So if I work with Jeremy, I don't know if he has a business name. Well, we just found out that he doesn't, right? Like, but I work with Jeremy, right? Like if I work with Will, I work with Will. So the difference there with business name is when we get big or bigger, and now there is more than one person involved because at some point there may have been one person many years ago. Now there's precision nutrition. And if you're signing up for a coaching program with Precision Nutrition, as you should, because we're launching a new cohort in a couple of weeks, you would be working with Precision Nutrition. You would be working with Coach Sarah, or you would be working with Coach Scott, right? And they are going to be kind of precision nutrition representatives in this coaching journey. Same goes for Peloton. If I'm following a training program by Peloton, I also would be working with like it's Arms by Tunde, which is Jared. I was kind of like making a little joke there. So it's Arms by Tunde is the training program, or it's like Get Stronger with Ben, right? Like, so we got to get into more specific names, but Peloton is the name of the business. For most folks on these calls, we usually start as solopreneurs. It's me, it's a one man or one woman show, right? And we want to help people get healthier, get stronger. So if they're coming to you, they're coming to Sheriff, right? Like, and that's who they want to work with. So what is it that you provide to them? So when you're thinking of, oh, like what should my business name be? Where did this problem arise for you?
No, there wasn't a problem. It's that we're just used to jump in the idea of that a business means a brand name and
Okay.
an identity. This is
Yeah.
how it's associated in my head. But it's you're right. It's not crucial. It's just something that we usually think of about any business. You have a business, you need a name, you need a logo, you need. This is how it's linked in my head. But
Well,
I think it's not necessary.
you're right. So the association, right? Because we think of, and I always say to folks, do compare yourself to PN. Do. Do compare yourself to Precision Nutrition. Look at the marketing emails for a model of email marketing, but also know where to stop the comparison because we have an entire team, right? Like writing marketing emails who are dedicated copywriters and people running social media, right? Like, so it's a whole team. So knowing where to stop the comparison, because then here we have folks here. Jeremy is running a business. His business doesn't have a name. I'm running a business. My business also does not have a name. I finally caved in because my accountant has insisted on it and like registered a corporation, which is more of an accounting thing, more so than anything. I'm proud to say it's registered under a super creative name of my full name, comma, Inc. Right. And not a single, like you guys on this call are probably the only people knowing that now, right? Like not a single one of my clients, if you were to ask them, could tell you what the name of the business is. And Sheriff, to your kind of point, sometimes the business name is easy. Sometimes people just like know exactly what they want to call it. Like if I'm going to open a bakery, like yeah, bakery should probably have a name and not be like bread with Sheriff, but it could be, right? If I'm going to open a business, I know I'm going to call it Sunny Vibes Coaching because that's just what's always been in my mind. But if you're finding yourself in this, like, I need a name. What should be my business name? Should be this, should be this, should be that. Acknowledging that, there isn't actually a problem. And as a coach, that is kind of my biggest thing first, is that before we start solving a thing, we need to make sure that there is actually a problem, right? So in your case, you do have a brand, you do have an identity as a person. The way you're going to show up and what you're going to talk about is going to both attract and repel people. And that's where we kind of talk about content. I want to pop into chat because there's a lot of chatter in there. Anything? If the bread is good, the name is less important. Absolutely. If you have a little bread stand at a farmer's market, I don't know what the name of the bread stand is. It's just like a French dude who makes baguettes. Like that, that's all it is. And I go there every week and I pay $7 for a loaf of bread. Sheriff, I don't know if you can see comments. There are some things in here where Mance is saying, I started with a general good enough business name. And then 1 year later, I changed it. And same thing, a lot of my clients don't know my business name, they're saying as well. Laura is saying, I established LLC only because I plan to move into a in-person personal training out of my home. So again, sometimes there are insurance implications there. I think that might be it for this question. Okay. Yeah. And that was you. People care so much more about the work than the language. Yeah, that you were saying this to Anastasia. So Sheriff, let's get into the second part of your question about content, because you see various ways in which people are kind of dividing up their content into like pillars, categories. Now, when you see it, is there any of it that feels appealing, attractive, overwhelming, anything that makes you go, wow, definitely don't want to do that?
For me, all marketing is overwhelming. Creating content for me is overwhelming. I enjoy more of coaching, dealing with people, having Zoom calls, writing designs. For me, marketing is always overwhelming. So I have someone who helps me shoot videos, help me with the editing. I have someone who does that with a very cheap price.
Mm-hmm.
So I use his help to create bulks of content so I can have them and use them once or twice a week, and adding to them probably another one time per week of my own workout or something that I did in the week that might help people or might show something useful to other people.
So then, risking sounding redundant, it does sound like you actually kind of have a content system already. So what
Yeah, but
is working or not working?
I think I have two problems with content. Mainly, I'm not very consistent. So I have been consistent only for the last month. I have been posting 3 times per week. Before that, I was very inconsistent. And the second problem is that I don't feel my plan is very effective in terms of attracting leads, attracting people, and initiating conversations with potential clients, new potential clients.
How long has it been? You said you haven't been consistent and then you've gotten more consistent. How long has it been of you being more consistent?
3 times a week, posting only like 1 month or 90 days. I don't think it's more than that.
So I will throw a scenario at you, and I think it's going to make you giggle. Okay, so you ready? So
Yeah.
imagine a client tells you, I never really been very consistent with exercise, but I'm finally getting more consistent with working out. So I'm doing my workouts 3 times a week and I'm being consistent, but I don't really know if my training program is working. And you say, well, how long have you been training? And they say, probably about a month or so. What do you tell them?
It's not enough. You need more time.
Right. It's the same. Right? It's the same. And I treat showing up on social media very similarly to how I treat exercise and training. How long would you give a particular training program before you decided if it's working or not? Realistically, personally, if it's 3 to 4 times a week, I would give it 3 to 4 months, personally. right? And that's what I would recommend to others, right? Like we want to give it some time to work or not work. After 3 or 4 months, absolutely, we pause and we reassess. Do I like it? Does this feel overwhelming? Am I tired? Am I exhausted? Am I seeing the changes and the results that I want to see? And I think the same would apply here, because you notice how you are actually taking steps towards making changes. You have been inconsistent with social media for a long time, I assume. And finally, something happened and you went, enough is enough. I need to get more consistent. And you went and you hired somebody to help you. And lo and behold, you've been consistent for a month. That's amazing, right? So you just made this big change. And this is the part where you kind of give it a little bit of time before you reassess and you tweak. How does that land?
I think you're right. It's a matter of just having very clear image of how posting should be like, so I'm more prepared and create the right content in advance, so I don't have to deal with the problem again of being inconsistent. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it's going to be very similar to, like, how do we make sure we don't fall off the wagon? Do you hear that very common question, right? Like that we ourselves deal with and we help clients with, like, oh, like, shoot, I'm being consistent, but I'm so afraid that something is going to happen and I'm going to fall off the wagon again. And some of it we can plan for, some of it we cannot plan for. But I think over time, we also develop certain amount of trust. If you've been working out regularly for 2, 3, 4 years, and then you break your ankle, chances are you'll find a way to get back into it. Okay, if you've only been exercising consistently for a month or two, and then you break your ankle, well, that's going to be a very discouraging barrier in your way. So your concerns are very legitimate right now because you've only been at it for about a month, right? And you're kind of noticing what's working for you right now in terms of planning ahead. And I know your original question was, well, what about categories? What about pillars? What about like Mondays this, Tuesdays that, right? And based on what you're telling me, it doesn't really sound like any of that is necessary for you right now or maybe ever. Personally, I've been posting on social media regularly for many years. I have never had pillars because they make me feel claustrophobic. That's not how I think, right? And then I feel like I have to post about a thing on Tuesday. Well, maybe I don't feel like talking about meal planning on Tuesday. I feel talking about something else completely on Tuesday.
So you have fixed days and you just do what you feel like you want to talk about?
That's a great question. I actually don't even have that. What I do have is that I have a certain minimum dose of showing up, right? So in any given week, I will probably show up 2 to 3 times a week and post, and that is my minimum dose. Now, in terms of sometimes it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Sometimes it's 3 days in a row. Sometimes I will post 2 days in a row, 2 posts one day, 2 posts another day, right? And that actually gives me a lot of flexibility and freedom, which are both very important to me. It doesn't lock me into like, here's what we're posting on a Tuesday in July. And some folks do that and it works for them. You notice how similar it is with meal planning, right? Like when some people, they like knowing what it is they're having for dinner 12 days from now. Remember someone telling me that they actually have a spreadsheet where they're meal planning their entire year in advance, and I actually think I had a panic attack just like hearing it, right? But it was amazing because for them, that created freedom for them. They were like, well, I don't have to think about meal planning for an entire freaking year. Imagine, right? And this is again an example of how sometimes completely opposite approaches can work for different people.
So it's what makes life easier for you as an individual. It's like
Well,
coaching. It's
it's like,
individualized.
and it's the beauty of running your own business because you can run your business with you first. Like what works for you, You need to be excited about your content. You need to show up regularly, right? So the absolute biggest determining factor is going to be consistency. So what's going to allow you to be consistent? For me, it's variety. It's variety, it's flexibility, it's freedom. The more free I can feel, the more consistent I'm going to be. If I have a very militant schedule, that makes me feel very oppressed, right? That might be true for you too, or that might be the opposite for you. But I also would argue, and I would point out to folks even like listening in, that there are going to be certain ways of being, and there are certain ways of doing business that are going to be overrepresented on social media. Because chances are you don't hear what I'm saying today a whole lot. You're not hearing a whole lot of business owners say, well, I show up a few times a week and I talk about whatever I feel like. Because what you hear is content strategy 3 months in advance, Q1, Q2, Q3. And it's like, kill me. Like, that doesn't excite me at all. Right. And that might be a way to do that. But if you're more like, if you enjoy that flexibility more, then I would encourage you to find ways that make you feel less caged in and also less overwhelmed. It's really hard
Yeah,
to sell, to show up in the way that works for you. It's so like it's the opposite of sexy, Jer, right? Like it's just once again a very moderate approach.
Anastasia has your hand up.
Go ahead, Anastasia.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add to this content conversation that I had a chance to work with a content as I think social media manager in January. That was my chance to put myself into international world, and I was so happy to found a person who would help me, and we committed to work for a couple of months, and she had like 100 of Excel sheets, hooks, and we had a Zoom calls like 7 in the morning every single week. I was so excited, and I was like, yes, I finally like will have a strategy. I would have my content plan for 2 months ahead. I would I would finally make it. And it was so overwhelming. It didn't feel right for me. I didn't feel any freedom. And as as a client who wanted to lose weight but has 100 of rules and PDFs and everything, it just didn't work out at all. And I am happy that I tried it, but I really, what Kate says really resonates with me a lot, because I really need freedom. And it is sometimes, it just makes your social media game more complicated when you have certain posts in certain day, and it just makes it harder. And it didn't work out for me at all. I was trying hard. It was like, I think 6 weeks I was trying to do it, and this strategy didn't work at all. So I would really advise to find what really inspires you, and to do what you really love to do, because this is what you can do consistently.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think there is one thing I really want to call out, because so as much as I just said, all about freedom, all about autonomy, all about flexibility, but if you were listening, you might have picked up on a certain aspect of rigidity in my approach. And I have to give myself that rigidity. There is something that is non-negotiable. What is non-negotiable is showing up 2 to 3 times a week. What is non-negotiable is that I do send out an email to my newsletter list once a week. So sometimes I will send it out on a Tuesday, and then the next one doesn't come out until like Sunday night, because I've been just procrastinating my butt off that week. But the sending it out that week is non-negotiable. Right? So it's those non-negotiables that actually prevent the freedom, the flexibility to take away from consistency, because consistency has to be there first. And then we build a system on top of that that hopefully respects your need for either structure or flexibility.
Sharif,
That was very
tossing it back to
helpful.
you.
Thank you so. That's really helpful. Really, I had a lot of complicated answers before to those kind of questions. So thank you for making it very simple and very clear. When relating things to coaching, things become a lot more clear, and I can answer the question myself once I make the shift and relate things to coaching. They become like uh, like they blow my mind, like how easy and simple they could be, and how sometimes we can complicate things in our head just because we care and we want to improve and grow at a certain thing.
I'm so glad. And I think as when we start recognizing ourselves in our clients is when we can simplify things, right? Because people are people are people, like humans, they all do the same stupid shit, right? Like we just overthink and overanalyze. So just like a client will overthink, like they will say, but how many eggs am I supposed to have in the morning? In your head, you're like, oh my God, like who cares? Just have some eggs, like have one, have four, like just have some eggs. Don't have three donuts, right? But it's exactly the same idea because then we coach them patiently and then we go and we do exactly same thing in our own area, right? Like we start overthinking the social media and what do I write and how do I go about writing it, right? So when we start making those connections, you can kind of keep hacking yourself. Like you can develop that self-coaching muscle where it's like, oh, this is just like this thing. Oh, look at me doing that thing again. that my clients do.
Thank you so much about it. Very helpful answers. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the question. Uh, I think this feels like a good place to wrap up for today. We have a few minutes extra, but I'm happy to give you 3 minutes back into your day. So I want to thank folks for showing up today. Uh, Anastasia, Sharif, thank you for the fantastic questions. Sithal, I'm glad that we were able to respond to your question in the chat box. So feel free, folks, to scroll back and check that one out. A question regarding what happens when my client is losing inches but not necessarily seeing the scale change appropriately. Uh, Something that we see quite often. Uh, it's a progress indicator, but there are some certain conditions that come along with that as well. And then, as of course, this call will be posted later this week. So if you want to watch the replay of this one, you can now find us on YouTube. Awesome, folks. Thank you for showing up. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.